if you're not an artist, you can learn to draw everything in just 30 minutes. My name's Harrison Howard. I built a community of over 1.8 million on TikTok just doing simple, easy tutorials, and I'm here to share my favorite 20 tutorials with you. Let's go. I'm so happy you're here drawing with me. So we're gonna dive right in. Here's how you can draw a lake. Start your drawing with a center horizontal line, followed by some side lines. It comes together quicker than you might expect. Draw the bottom line into the side of the page, but don't do it like I'm doing on the left side here. I'm drawing in a good example and a bad example. You'll see what I mean in a second. A quick jagged line. Look at that, you're already drawing the hills along the edge of the lake. This is why you leave the gaps, because then you add more depth. Rather than on this side, look at, there's no room to draw that line. Still looks alright though, because once we add shading, it really doesn't matter. Get the spirit of Bob Ross up in here. No mistakes, just happy accidents. As you can tell, we're going a lot faster than Bob Ross too. So draw some ridge lines down from the peaks of each of your mountains. You can accentuate them as much or as little as you want. Now a little circle in the sky for the moon, or the sun, whatever you prefer. When it comes time to shade the lake, shade it from the sides, leaving the center empty. Let's draw this together. Shading nice and slow so you can keep up. Whether using pen or pencil, it doesn't matter. This is a Pentel brush pen that I'm using. Any sort of brush pen would work. You may notice that the left side has some shading that's a little bit too straight. It doesn't look natural. What we're going to want to do is shade behind the hills, just like we're doing on this right side. This hill here is casting a shadow across the water because of where the light is. And so we're going to just draw basically the same shape as this hill, but a little bit more random. We'll definitely want it a bit darker right behind the hills, because that's where the shadow would be cast. Shading takes some patience, and I'm working pretty quickly here, so just do as much or as little as you want, and we can catch up on this later. The more time you spend with shading, the better it will really look. From here, we're going to jump into the ridge lines. So you'll notice that none of the ridge lines go straight down, they all go off at angles. The reason I do that is I find it adds a little bit more realistic or natural depth. We'll apply the same sort of technique using the little sub-ridges or details or texture to your mountains. You can spend some serious time doing this, but it could also be really simple, just a few dashes here and there. I like the way that looks, so that's what we're doing today. We're wrapping this drawing up, so it's time to jump into our next little tutorial. It's another landscape, but this one's completely different. Let's draw a beach. But first, I'm letting you know that I'm leaving this page blank for the best drawing at the end, so be sure to watch all the way through. Okay, so how to draw a beach. In the bottom left third of your page, draw a big C that has an extended bottom that goes all the way to the side of the page. And then draw a squiggly line up. Draw a flat line out from there, and then another squiggly line up. This represents two little points in front of your horizon line. That's the ocean. Semicircle for the sunset or sunrise, and a little palm tree in the foreground. Palm trees are easy to draw. I like to do between 5 and 6 fronds, and you can draw some details into those. Thanks for being my frond and watching. I really appreciate this. That means a lot to me. Continue drawing your palm fronds with just some little detailed lines. They come together really quickly. Add a few little fresh sprouts coming out of the top to make it slightly more realistic. You can add tiny palm trees in the far distance to showcase the depth quickly. I don't want to add too much to this because I want your creative freedom to take this drawing to the next level. I love seeing what you make with my drawings. Be sure to let me know. Look up harrisonhow.com to join the art club, or at harrisonhow on any of the social medias to tag me. Now let's draw a really festive sunset. Draw some flat lines that are sort of bouncy. As in, they're not quite flat lines, because they're going to turn into little clouds. So make them a little bit uneven, like so. And make them bigger as they come towards you, and smaller as they go towards the little sun in the distance. This is how you draw cumulonimbus. Add as many or as few as you'd like. It's up to you. You're the creative boss around here. You could even add some little spirals and details as you see fit too. Just a reminder to keep them small in the distance, and then as they get closer, a little bit bigger. If you keep it really consistent, then you can add a lot of depth in your sky. You could add waves, or you could add more details to the beach, but instead I'm just going to add a simple line and then turn the page. It's a new drawing time. This next drawing is aggressively easy. It's our last landscape of the series. It's to really get your confidence up. Start by drawing a little M that's uneven in the top third of your page. These are your mountains. Differentiate one and then add some ridge lines. From there, we're going to draw in these squiggles along the left and right hand side of the page. The squiggles from the edge of the page start flat and have round caps on them. You can have as many or as few lumps as you'd like. I'm going to do 3 on the left side and maybe 2 or 3 on the right side as well. Now, from the points of each of those lumps, you're going to draw a line down and in. Now you're drawing a canyon. Look at that. Draw every other point. So first the right side, then the left side, and then the right side again, and then back to the left side, just to make sure that the canyon walls are in the right order. Then draw this weird vertical bar graph thing, and these are going to be the trunks of your trees. You can have as many or as few as you want. These are going to be trees sort of sticking out of the backside of the canyon before they reach into the mountains. I'll give you an example how I like to scribble out some really specific trees. Obviously, scribbling isn't a specific technique, but it's the one I like to employ because it feels like the most natural way to make just sort of random tree growth, because it is really random. Nature is so natural and unpredictable in a lot of ways. You can add as much or as little detail, like every drawing, like all points, but let's just go quickly. Let's scribble in some trees, have fun, get loose with it. Let's warm up for the rest of our drawings. Don't pay too much attention to how things look, because you know what? This is all for fun. You're doing great. Keep up the good work. We're almost to our 4th drawing. But again, you can always add a sun or a moon and practice your shading techniques. Always make it darkest in the corners that are facing away from the sun. I know we got all sped up, but don't worry, it doesn't have to be intense to draw things. It can actually be really easy. This tent is a trapezoid and a triangle, and just one line down. Look at that, it's time for a whole new page of drawings. I love animals, so let's draw a dog and a cat. It's easier than you might expect to just doodle up something quick, and your style will really shine. Draw a T in the middle of the page. This is the nose for your dog's snout. Draw a smile and then a C for the eye. You can put the other eye somewhere random too. It makes the dog look more silly. Experiment where you put the eyes because it makes a big difference in how the dog's personality comes across. Put the ear over the eye and an ear behind the other eye, and they can be pointy or rounded. I mean, it depends on the type of dog, right? I'm trying to keep this tutorial nice and happy and lighthearted and vague because there's a lot of great ways to draw dogs, and just as many ways to draw cats. I like to draw the ears first. After you draw the ears, draw a sort of backwards 7 on the left and a normal 7 on the right, and have them tilt in towards each other. This will be your cat cheeks for your fat cat. Feel free to add in a tail. I'm not drawing the bodies, just their characteristic faces right now. Do a triangle for the nose instead of a T, and make the eyes more distinct and cat-like. Then I like to add in the whiskers, but don't forget the ear detail. It's raining cats and dogs. Just kidding, it's not. But I like to call dogs frogs, and that has inspired me to additionally draw a frog. So after you finish up your cat drawing, let's practice our frogs. Start by drawing a circle and an oval next to each other. Then out to the side of the oval, draw a line that goes up and over both the oval and the circle, and then down and around. It's going to connect back up with that main line, and you do it like this. Then we get to add the fun frog details like the big jumping legs and the strange vertical pupils. Now let's hop on to the quickest way to draw a cup of coffee, or any mug for that matter. Make sure your frog is nice and cute with a smile, and then it's time to move on. Draw a horizontal oval in the middle of your page, and a capital D below and to the right or to the left of it, facing outward. Once you understand we're drawing the negative space first, you can start to play around with the shape that the D is. Because it'll affect the shape of your handle, you can start to make it more custom. Shade in both the oval and the D if you'd like, but that's not as necessary. Definitely shade in the oval though. Now it's time to make our mug shape. It can really be anything. This is where you get to be the most creative. I'm just making a real nice and basic one to leave room for the other fun things that we're going to draw on this page. Draw it however you want. After all, it's your cup of tea. To draw an umbrella, draw a line that connects into an E or a backwards 3, and one more line to make a triangle out of it. Now make a bunch of smaller lines and sides for the little fabric wrinkles. The last thing to do is adding a handle. Nobody's raining on your parade. It's time we make a few more quick and easy doodles. Next is how to draw a tulip in 2 lines. Draw a U with a W inside. Then draw a line down for the stem and a line around for the leaf. How to draw a cowboy hat. We're doing 4 random drawings, but I find that they're very useful and frequent. So here's how you draw a cowboy hat. A flat line with a teardrop, and then an M inside, and then one backwards C. And look at that, a cowboy hat. It's really nice to have, basically a visual library of things to pull from. Here's how you turn a triangle into a piece of pizza. I'm sure you already knew that because you're an artist watching art lessons, but I hope you're having a good time hanging out with me, and I really appreciate you drawing along. We are 1/3 through. That means we only have 20 minutes left in this lesson, so let's focus up. We're jumping right into anatomy. That's right, we're going to draw an eyeball first, and then a nose, and then lips, and then the whole body, and then a whole face. Holy heck, we got a lot going on. So let's just start with the eyeball. Draw a circle with a circle inside. The first circle is the eyeball, the second circle is the iris, the third circle is the pupil, and the little square is the highlight. Now let's draw the lids of the eye. The hooded lids can be drawn in all sorts of ways because there's all sorts of different eyes. Definitely be sure to use a reference. Pro tip to always draw lightly first and then come in and draw darker over the top. Whether it's pen or not, it's always nice to start light and then work dark. They say it takes 10,000 hours to become professional at anything. I think you could spend probably 10,000 hours just learning to draw eyes really proficiently. Try clumping together some eyelashes so you don't have to draw as many. It's a nice shortcut. You can draw the pupil in the center and leave a little bit of highlight within. To draw the iris, I try and shade around the outside first, and then I always leave a little halo around the pupil to make sure you're not shading too close to the pupil. That way you don't lose any of the detail in the most important part of the eye. The pupil, the window to the soul. Be sure to leave in the highlight and make the drawing yours by adding as much or as little detail as you want. I like to add shading in the corner of the eyeballs as well. You can shade underneath the eyelids to make a little bit more depth. Don't be scared to add some wrinkles as well because everybody has wrinkles, no matter how old they are. To draw a nose, draw an upside down cross with 3 circles on it. 2 circles in between would represent where the nostrils go. You can make it complicated or it can be really simple. It's just basically a weird W. Noses are as distinct and unique as eyes. There's so many great ways to draw them, and be sure to use a reference. I feel the same way about lips. So here's an easy technique to draw lips. Draw an M, a loose W, and then one last M. This is my unique technique. I hope it helps you draw lips better. Let's take a break from drawing a weird cyclops face and instead draw a hand. To draw a hand, start by drawing 2 sets of parentheses, one on the left and then one on the right. The parenthesis on the right will look like it's tipped over, and then connect 3 straight lines into it, just connecting to that last straight line. Then draw a little question mark connected to the left parenthesis. Next up, we're going to draw the fingers, and so you're going to draw the pinky first, and then the ring finger, and then the middle finger, and then you're going to say, why is there a finger missing? And I'm going to tell you it's okay, because we're going to draw the palm first, and then we're going to draw the last finger. So look, there's your drawing. It's already done. No panic needed. As with all of my drawings, you can choose to add detail or not. So this is how I would add some little fingernails. I don't like adding too much detail because I find the more detail that you add, the illustrations become less graphic and relatable. Okay, so this is how you draw a whole head and face shape together. Start by sketching in a little diamond and then lines down off of it. From there, it's going to turn into a box. This box is going to be the basis of your head shape. I call this the C and T method. You'll see why in a second. But you basically draw in a line along the top third, and then you draw a C on one side, that'll be the ear, and a T, which becomes the nose and the brows. Since we're drawing a guy, we're going to make all of the lines really sharp and angular. If we wanted to make it a little bit more feminine, most of the lines could be drawn with curves. Draw in a distinct jawline, and then start sussing out where you want to put in the different facial features. Again, you're working light first and then darker where you start laying in where you want to draw things. It comes together so freaking quick. That's why I love this technique. Use the box shape to choose where you're going to put your hairline, and then you're basically done. Next drawing, please, you might be saying. You know I got you. If you can draw a simple normal stick figure, you can draw all of anatomy. Draw your stick figure with a triangle for the shoulders and a triangle for the hips. That's the main difference between these two different sets of stick figures. Okay, so let's put it into action. It's basically just a circle, a spine, two sets of triangles, legs, and arms. Let's bust out our pencils and on to the next step. Let's draw a person walking. Doodle in a little head shape, a triangle for the shoulders, a big expressive spine that's curving forward, and then the hips, directionally the same or similar to the shoulders and also to the spine. One foot is walking backwards, one foot is stepping forwards, and then the arms are doing the exact opposite. So the arm that's going forward is going to be the one on the phone, and that'll be the leg that's stepping back. We can use the C and T method that we just did, the C being the ears and the T being the brow and the nose. But we're not going to do that quite yet. We're going to sketch in the rest of the anatomy first. I'm leading from the phone, and then I just sort of do parentheses on either side of where muscle should go, so the quad, the knee, the shin, and the calf. You just sort of add parentheses around each part. I'm not the best at anatomy, but, I think this technique works pretty good. And ultimately, it's just a guideline for where you're going to put your clothes or where you're going to put the rest of the figure's lines. Since we're working in pencil, this is not your finished shape. This is a baseline. That's the great thing about working with pencil, is it builds so slowly, while at the same time being just a great way to draw something quickly. You can use whatever tools you want though, whether you're using a ballpoint pen, pencil, sketching, doing whatever. I think these techniques are sort of ubiquitous to just getting confident drawing and trying to increase your skill set across the board. Speaking of increasing your skill set, let's try this brush pen and ink in some shorts. We'll give this guy shorts and some legs and some shoes. All of the classics. Just watch on this part. I'm not going to voice it over because you got this. At this point, you basically know how I'm going to describe things. I'll just be sure to mention any tips and tricks that I come across. I really enjoy drawing collared shirts because they're very sharp and rigid. This means it can be drawn quickly with just some simple straight lines. We're drawing a person, we're drawing a person. It's coming together so quick and smooth. Because we drew the person before we drew the person, so we could improve. Also, we're going to draw the C&T method again because I think it's great practice. But, you already know how to do that. These are the brows. Then you can draw the nose. And don't forget to add a fun hairdo. We're coming up on one of my favorite tips. It's how to draw a shadow really quickly and efficiently. We've drawn people, we've drawn animals, we've drawn faces, we've drawn landscapes, we've drawn all sorts of things, coffee cups and umbrellas, and now we're going to draw where all of that stuff lives in a little house. Oh wait, well, the landscape doesn't live in a house, but this is the easiest way to draw a house. I figured out that if you just draw like an arrow that's basically missing its top, if you can imagine like a big arrow that's missing its top, and then you draw a line in and over, look at that. It's basically a house in like 2 lines. It's incredible. It's one of my favorite ways to draw a house. It's also one of my favorite things to draw in general, is these simple little houses, and there's so many great ways to use them. You can draw just a single story house, or you could draw like a double story house like this. And in the double story house, you could actually make it as tall as you wanted. I just made it skinnier so you could add like 3 or 4 stories worth of windows. Fun and easy way to draw like a dorm or apartment building, something like that. It's good to practice windows. But I found as a kid, I overdid the windows. I would just spend all the time and effort doing windows for no reason, and the drawing would look real mediocre. So don't overinvest. Try and work on the structure of your buildings first before you add all these fun details, because you can add as many or as few details in whatever sorts of places that you want. Speaking of details, let's come up with a conceptual, detail-oriented, futuristic cityscape. It can start really simple with just like sort of rectangles on a line. And then start stacking them up. You can add a bunch of them, making them bigger and more eccentric as they stack on top of each other. And since it's the future, your space city can look like however you want, however you can manifest or make up in your mind. Because it's the mother heckin' future. It's good to think big. It's good to think creatively. It's just fun to think creatively. So make up buildings, make up stories, make up, I don't know, how people get to and from work, how they transit around on and off planet, in and out of nature. I don't know, maybe there's a park up at the top of one of these giant buildings. You can make up whatever you want. That's the best part. Thinking to yourself as you do these doodles and just letting your mind roam, because that's what creativity is all about. And it can be really simple. Just build like a square on top of a triangle, on top of a line, on top of, another little trapezoid. You can just build shapes however you want and turn that into a building. Because who knows what the things are going to look like in the future. As long as it looks vaguely like a city at the base, I think you could pull off whatever shape you wanted at the top of these buildings. No city is complete without a bridge though, so draw a horizontal line with a weird M on top. From the tops of the M's, you can draw lines down. In fact, there's going to be a lot of vertical lines. If there's a bridge, it means it has to be going over something, so you can have it be going over like a lake. So we'll make this be sort of a coastal line with some coastal buildings and some shrubs maybe. Maybe it has like a telephone pole. And then we can add in maybe some mountains in the background, or maybe the bridge is going over other parts of the city or another layer of city. Who knows? Maybe it's going over a park. You can make up whatever you want. We're only 5 short drawings away from the special bonus drawing at the end. That's right, we're over 2/3 through already. You're doing an amazing job, so just keep up the good work drawing along. I hope your hand isn't tired. To draw a campfire, start with 2 ovals facing away from each other, and then draw lines in that sort of cross like an X. But don't make them go through, just make them stop when they reach each other. Cap out the other side of your logs, and then it's time to draw the fire. But first, let's add some detailed wood grains and some other little embers that are at the base. The rings can be drawn like a spiral, but it's better if you draw them as individual circles. Just takes a bit more finesse and specificity. My tip for drawing the wood grain is to start from where there's going to be some shadows. So start in the darkest area possible, at the base or from where the other log is sort of tipping over the top of it. My wood grain is typically just a bunch of straight lines that just don't go all the way across. And then just a few little curved lines or, knots in the wood thrown in there, intermixed randomly. Dang, those logs are looking nice. You're doing a good job. To draw the fire itself of this campfire, draw some loose S's and backwards S's, just sort of random squiggles that go vertically above your fire. Add a bunch of them before you start connecting them, and when you start connecting them, keep it nice and loose and curvy. Flames move really quickly, so I don't really do a lot of specific connecting lines, and I try and connect them all with points. That sort of symbolizes that rapid movement to me. There's lots of great ways to draw flames, and the more you draw them, the more you'll find your own style. I like to layer a bunch of those curved lines and have them be a little bit lighter towards the center and a little bit darker further away, just to try and show the heat that's emanating from this campfire. Definitely don't forget the little embers above that are just floating off of the flames. Now we have a little drawing challenge you can do anytime. Write the letters 1 through 9. Letters? Draw the numbers 1 through 9, and then turn them into little doodles. For example, the one could be a sailboat. This is a great challenge. Try to always think of new things and see if you can really look at the numbers in a new way. How about we make number 2 a goose? You can literally make it into whatever, though. Look at the 2 and just see what you can see. See what you can envision. For example, that 3 could just be a basic butterfly, or it could be the ear of this crazy, weird elephant. So fun, so different. Let's just try it out. There's no harm, no foul. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do this challenge. Instead, do it on your own. That challenge is sure to brew up your creativity. This is a quick and easy way to draw a monstera leaf. This line is the main vein of the leaf. Then draw teardrops where the bottom part of the teardrop is facing in towards that line. Make the teardrops smaller as they go towards one side and bigger as they go towards the other. Again, it's important to draw the teardrops facing inwards like this. Now it's time to draw our entire outline of the leaf. Make some arches between each of those points. Dang, yo, that monstera leaf is looking good. Keep up the good work. You're drawing really well. Now let's draw the tip of it. Feel free to add more of those little teardrops inside, just as other holes in the monstera leaf. You know, there's always a ton of holes in those plants for some reason. Since we're on a plant kick, let's go ahead and draw the palm trees, pine trees, and cactus. Since we already drew palms in the beach scene, we'll just do a little tiny one as a reminder. The main focus will be on drawing different types of pine trees. I really like the classic method that sort of ends up looking like a Christmas tree, but it's not my favorite. To draw that, draw some swooping lines out that hook back on themselves. Try and do this fairly symmetrically on each side, but no pressure to make the points exact. Thicken up the trunk and color it in. I would have colored in the whole pine tree, but my pen's kind of running out of ink, and I don't want to run out before I get everything drawn. This pine tree is another classic. Really simple, 3 lines, and then you can add some smaller lines drooping down. I think it looks more like a cedar tree than it does a pine tree. The last method here is my favorite, and you've already seen it. You start with a single line, and then you do scribbles. Yay, scribbles. The scribbles are the best. They are the most expressive. They actually look like a tree's silhouette, and they're cool, and I like them. So you should, try out the scribble method. In fact, here's a little bonus star because I'm so pleased with how that tree turned out. Scribbles for the win. Okay, let's draw a cactus because you might come across a desert one of these days. To draw a cactus, you're going to think of balancing both sides because that's what the arms are for. The arms of the cactus balance the cactus and keep it standing upright. If the cactus starts leaning over to the left, it'll grow an arm on the right to balance it out. It's so fun. They're basically spiky little pockets of water in the middle of an otherwise vastly dehydrated place. Speaking of deeply dehydrated, my pen is getting very low on ink, so I'm going to go and finish out these little lines along the cactus, refill my ink, and show you that last bonus drawing. I'm so grateful you've stayed and watched all of this time with me. I really couldn't be more thankful. If you're watching through, I bet we'd make good friends and we'd probably go on great drawing adventures together. Okay, pen refill acquired. It is time to show you one of my favorite drawing techniques. We've really drawn a lot today, and you've done a good job. And this one's really easy. This is how you make any shape into an impossible shape. So let's start with the triangle and turn it into a Penrose triangle. Draw little lines off of each of the corners. Then draw a long line extending off of that goes just past the other short line. You're going to do that 2 more times. With one final line around the outside, you'll see how quick this impossible shape comes together. Add simple caps here. And a little bit of shading goes a long way. Shade those inner corners and the outer corners. You can officially count 30 minutes more towards your 10,000 hours of drawing. I hope this boosted your creativity and gave you a smile. Thanks again for drawing with me. My name is Harrison Howe. I hope you show me what you made.